Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Crystal Clear. Today, I have the Liz Lowe, owner and fitness guru of Scorch Fitness in Sarasota. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I feel like, where did we begin? I think you called me a long time ago.
Yeah.
When you very first opened the gym. What year was that?
I probably called you in 2015. We opened December 23rd of 2015.
Yeah.
So that was and I definitely called you, I think, well before we opened.
Yeah.
Because Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki Lavelle. Love her. Misconnections of Sarasota. But yeah, that was definitely a space and time where I was going batshit crazy. I had just blended my children together and I was working for Girls Inc. and I was surrounded by children all day and I'm like, I can't add anything else to my plate. Although thinking back, I'm like, that probably would have been the best thing for me then at that point in time because it would have kept me connected to my fitness roots.
Yeah, and get you that reprieve of being with adults and only adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually were just chatting before we jumped on. I feel like I'm a maid for adult interaction more so than I am child interaction, even though I love my children. But I also, need my adults.
It's funny that you say that because I feel like as moms, we're not supposed to say that.
I don't give a shit.
It's like we're built to have children. I'm like, oh my God, I have this thing and I don't know what to do. And now I have these step things and I don't know what to do. And I'm like,
right.
And it's okay.
Right. Oh, so you're blended now as well.
Yeah, we're blended now too.
And you have how old are your blends?
So
blends?
the bonus kids, the bonus boys are 19 and 21.
Okay.
So you think that's like, yeah, they're off on their own. No, that is not how the world works.
Yeah, we just, I think, got news that our oldest will probably be sticking around for a couple more years.
Yep.
So we're not sure for sure, but it's like, okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
So you and I are in the same boat where it's like, okay, so we're dealing with like preschool age.
Mm-hmm.
And adult teenage age.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're missing that 15, 16.
Yeah, I don't have the middle. You have a middle person, a middle human.
I'll just keep sending my daughter to Scorch so you get your dose of that. Yeah. But you do get your dose of that because you do a lot of youth programs and stuff in the community. A lot. So tell us a little bit about Scorch for those viewers, listeners that aren't as familiar as us Sarasotans are.
Of course. So Scorch is a high intensity interval training gym, but the biggest thing is that the workouts can be modified for each person based on their goals, ability levels, and then injury history. So my degree is in sports medicine. I've literally been doing this and only this for my entire career. I literally started writing workout programs when I was 16 years old for a chain of physical therapy clinics. And here I am 36 years old, still writing exercise programs. So we do strength and conditioning. So you're going to get endurance, strength, and power in every single workout. But again, it's modifiable. So we have people who are like your daughter who are playing lacrosse and they're coming in with their teams. And then we have people in their 80s who are coming in because they have hip replacements, knee replacements, or they're just trying to age gracefully. Right. So we really have a little bit of everybody. But the big premise is we love to teach weightlifting and teach the art of resistance training and knowing that everyone can do it at any age because building muscle is like the number one thing for anti-aging. You can take as many supplements as you want, but if you don't have muscle on your body is not going to age as well as it could. So that's kind of the biggest thing that we push is let's build some muscle. Let's make it so that your long-term looks wonderful.
Love that. That's perfect explanation. And you're the one person that I send everyone to. Well, I have this problem. I'm like, you know what? I would love to answer your questions, but I don't have the time and space for that right now. So Liz, because you're so intentional about it though. And because you realize, and you've realized all along through your own journey is we're all built differently. Mm-hmm. Our needs are different. Like my workout's going to look different than your workout. My daughter's workout's going to look different than her teammates' workout. The 80-year-old's workout is going to look different than the 35-year-old's workout in the same class. Yeah. So tell us a little about, because I really love the way that you format your exercises, kind of how the structure of the program works. Because do you still do online programming? Do you still have your app? Okay.
Yeah, we still have the app as well. So there's this word in training that some people may have heard and some people have no idea what it is, but it's called periodization. Mm-hmm. So whenever you periodize your training program, it means that you are overloading and deloading, meaning that you are taking times where you're actually purposely stressing your body out more more than it should be. And then you're deloading, taking away stress. And the reason we do that is because we don't ever want to plateau, but we also don't want to overtrain. You want to find this happy medium in your training. So you always need to be stressing your body out to a point and then taking it back and letting it rest and recover. When you rest and recover, you're now at a new starting point. You're now more conditioned. You're now stronger. And now you can stress yourself out a little bit more. Exercise is stress, whether we like it or not. It's a good stress, hopefully. Some people take it to an extreme, and it's a bad stress. But it's a stress nonetheless. So we've all been there. So because of that, we actually have to, again, periodize or create periods of change in our training programs. So that's one of the things that we do at Scorch. I do that on a year scale. So it's a year-long training program that's periodized, and each week has a focus, each month has a focus. And then on the daily, we train total body. And the way that we can do that is do total body every day is we train in something called kinetic chains of motion. Mm-hmm. So you have the front of the body, the anterior chain, the back of the body, the posterior chain, and the side of the body, the lateral chains. And if you go back to high school science, you learned about potential energy and kinetic energy. So you have stored energy and moving energy. Well, we want to move the energy throughout our body in a safe and effective way. The cool thing about training in chains of motion is it always teaches your core to connect with the rest of the body. Mm-hmm. So that's where people get injured, is because we do these, I did lower body and then I did upper body and then I did core on a different day. And we're never really teaching the body to work as one functional unit. Right. And so that's what we do at Scorch, is we teach the body to work as one functional unit. So if you are just a weekend warrior and want to go out and play pickleball, or I've recently taken up pickleball. I'm not very good at it, but there's a lot of rotational stuff in it. Or go out and do a 5K or do a mud race or just chase your kids around. The risk of injury decreases majorly when you're already training functionally like that.
Right. I mean, and functional training is the way to go. I feel like being in this industry for over 20 years now too. It's like, I've done the injuries. I've done the isolations and dated the bodybuilders in college. Didn't know what the hell they were doing. Yep. like train your calves, dude.
We've all been there.
But it's like you take in this information from everybody. I never felt like it was quite right. Yeah. Until I started training, like exactly what you're talking about. And one thing that people always skip is the lateral chain. Yeah. Like, why aren't we working our serratus anterior? Why aren't we doing the side planks? Why aren't we doing the leg lifts?
Yeah.
And so I love that you mentioned that, because it's so important.
Right. The way I explain it when someone comes in, I'm like, okay, so when's the last time you side shuffled down the sidewalk? They're like, what? I'm like, exactly. We move front to back all day long. And if anything, we really just move front. Right. So we're so anterior chain dominant that we theoretically should be training the posterior chain 4 times as much as the anterior chain, because we're in an anterior dominant society. Right. We're always looking down. We're always texting. We're always walking forward. Everything we do is in front of us. So the muscles on the back side of the body get neglected. That's when we see poor posture. That's when we see low back pain. That's when we see shoulder impingement issues.
No acetal syndrome. Sorry.
I like that. It's funny. But that's where it is. And then you see, my favorite is like, okay, well, I have sciatica. Okay, I see it all the time because people are sitting all the time. But surprisingly, a lot of that can come from like glute med and piriformis issues from not having lateral stabilizers.
And like tight hip flexors and tight TFL. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. But all that tightness a lot of the times is guarding. It's guarding for other weak things. So I say, like, start training laterally, train your posterior chain, forget about your anterior chain for a little bit even if you need to, if you don't have the time. But yeah, it's crazy how many injuries I see that can be fixed with like a couple like stupid band exercises. Mm-hmm. So it's funny.
I love it. Yeah. Your workouts are fun. The environment is fun. So tell us a little bit about like your online situation. Like, cause I see that you've thrown, you know, who is banging after doing your program is Tootie. Okay, Tootie is our friend that we go to for all things sexy. I did a podcast with her.
Oh, I saw
Tootie Del Monte. She's a boudoir photographer, but she looks amazing.
She's crushing it.
She is crushing it.
Like, I'm super proud of her.
Yeah, and it started with one of your workouts, and that was online, right?
Yep. So she does. She has the app.
Okay.
So she's someone who's always. I mean, like she was a great collegiate athlete,
right?
Like, and she's got a banging body,
right?
But her biggest thing, and this is the biggest thing for anyone who's trying to like actually like get in shape or lose weight for the first time and keep it off is that she found a way to be consistent.
Right.
So yeah, she has the Scorch app and she goes and does the Scorch workouts and she does her total body. And I got her doing like sprint work and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome.
She has the best legs.
Yeah, she does.
She really does. Everything she goes on
we're
with
just gonna
legs.
sit here when she listens.
Like,
we're like,
stalker.
Sarah, we're just gonna talk about you the entire time.
I know, right?
And I'm losing my voice. I have a breathy voice to talk about her. So it's perfect. But her biggest thing was finding something that she could get done in a good amount of time. That worked with like kid drop off, running your own business, like having a social life and all that kind of stuff. And so consistency and finding something that works for you and your schedule is really the most important thing. So the Scorch workout could give you technically the best results, but if you're not going to do it, then you're not going to get any results.
Right. And you're not going to eat enough food to do what you're like fuel your body. And that was my biggest thing for a long time, even though I knew better. And I think that's honestly why I went to college for what I went to college for, is to educate myself out of my unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
All of them.
Right? And it's okay. I mean, like, here we are, we're in the industry and we know all this stuff and we still have unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
It's the brain. It just fights us all the time.
I'm actually kind of I'm in my Pilates era right now.
Yeah.
So I'm loving my little Pilates because they do a lot of the same that you're talking about. Like every day is total body.
Yep.
It's something a little different, but I feel better because high intensity for me, my cortisol levels are like through the roof. And then I got to the point where I wasn't even producing it anymore. So it's like, then it just shut down.
Right?
Like, okay, I just turned 40 and it just shut down.
But it does.
So it does. And that's just something we're not tested for on a regular basis. Like we should be tested for this when we go for annual physicals. Like even our children, like guarantee you they're not ADHD or maybe they have those symptoms, but I guarantee you their cortisol levels are through the roof and they're fight or flight and they can't concentrate because of that. That was my problem. Yeah. Like it's crazy.
No, it's all of a sudden you have like ADHD when you've never had it before.
Yeah.
And it's like, you should totally have like Mika and Michelle from Wellness Realm on here at some point. Oh my God, I would.
Yeah, that would be great.
So that was one of the things that I did. So I feel like when you're in this industry for this long, like you're human and you will go through things. And so I've gone through times of like extreme fatigue, feeling like, why is my body fighting me? Maybe it didn't look like it on the outside, but it was going on internally. So you're supposed to be this like super like excited motivator all the time, a source of inspiration. And you really just want to sit in your bed and eat gummy bears and Ben and Jerry's. And you know what? Sometimes
I kind of remember that phase for you.
Yeah, I did that. That was me. I was like, so I had some gummy bears for breakfast and then I went to my gym to inspire the 130 people who walked in the door that day. But now that I am older and honestly have the ability to and the resources to do these things now, that was one of the big things. Is I started my gym when I was 26 years old. And I was dead broke. Like I had nothing. Right. Like I took out a loan and was like, I have nothing to lose. I have no kids, no nothing. Like I was poor. Like, and you remember those days.
Happy 10-year anniversary, by the way.
I think so. It's nine years officially, but like I had to take out the loan a year before. Okay. But yeah, so 10 years.
So we're approaching 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years since I put it all on the line. Yeah. But now one of the things that I invest in is I do my blood work every 3 months. Yeah. I look at I do look at hormones. And so when I say hormones, I'm looking at cortisol as a hormone, by the way. Right. So I'm looking at estrogen, progesterone. I'm looking at testosterone. I'm looking at cortisol levels, IGF-1, all these different things that we don't do in our normal when we go to our primary and ask for our blood work. And it's been so eye-opening for me because not only has it helped me obviously stay in shape and feel better, but it's helped me have more energy to do things with my 3.5-year-old daughter. It's helped me to have less mood swings and want to kill my significant other for absolutely nothing. Right.
Stop breathing.
Right. And we all go through that. And so that's where it's like one of those things where it's like getting data, and I'm a data freak. Yeah. And so the fact that I can go every 3 months and see all these things and see, okay, are my supplements working? Okay. Right. Last time I went, they weren't. And so
what do I need to change up? Like I've been doing similar things. It's like, I realize I have the MTFHR gene. Like I wasn't metabolizing my B vitamins. I was taking a shit ton of B vitamins, so it's just, we don't get this information unless we seek it out. So So tell us your resource for that, because I always love to give resources.
I go to Wellness Realm. It's on 41. It's right next to Trader Joe's.
Okay.
I see Michelle Grattan.
Okay.
And Mika Schur. They own it. They're wonderful.
Okay. And do they do like virtual clients and things like that?
They do virtual as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I need to go see them.
They're awesome.
Yeah. I need to go see them. I think you gave me their number last little dinner we had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just good people, and they get it.
Yeah.
And so, and they help you be an advocate for your health.
Right. Great. So you know what questions to ask when you do go to different doctors and specialists, because it's like there's no one size fits all for any person. It's like you kind of have to mix and mingle and choose your battles and all of that. So let's back it up a little bit and tell us what inspired you to do all this. Like, we've talked about everything you're doing now, but like how did that develop inside of little Liz?
Oh, little Liz had severe anxiety. I had a stomach ulcer at the age of 10 because of my anxiety. Like severe anxiety from a very, very young age, which if you've had severe anxiety, a lot of the times it turns into depression just because you're not able to handle those emotions.
And hormonally.
Yeah. So as a teenager, and I was someone who was very active just because that was my coping mechanism.
Same.
So I feel like I kind of just found exercise as a way to cope with what my brain was doing all those times. So I am diagnosed OCD, like the real OCD. Like, not just like, it's crazy when when someone's like, oh, I like when things are organized. I'm like, nope, I have intrusive thoughts that will literally take my brain over.
Right.
So exercise was like the thing that made me feel better. And that was literally from the age of like 8, 9, 10, 11. So I was always in sports. I figured out very early on that I wanted to do something in the sports medicine space. Mm-hmm. So I did what every normal high school girl does, is get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do my training so that I could then go work at a physical therapy clinic after school. So that's not normal, by the way.
Sounds normal to me, but we had a very similar.
We had very similar things. Yeah. And also too, it's like when you have like home situations where you don't necessarily feel safe, you look for those like
outlets that make you feel safe and purposeful and like
and places to go.
And you're a nerd like I am with this stuff. So it's like you want to learn, you want to take in this information.
100%.
And I know for me, and I don't know, I didn't grow up around a lot of people that I found had a lot of integrity. Yeah. And I knew that I wanted to be different, like love my family. They did the best they could with the tools they had. Mm-hmm. But I like to surround myself with people that I felt had the drive, the motivation. They stuck with their word. They did what they said what they were going to do, and gravitated towards that. Yeah,
no, 100%. So that's kind of where it started. Again, I've never done anything else in my life other than what I do right now. Like,
you love it though.
Yeah, I do love it. I absolutely love it. And but it started because of anxiety and depression. And that was my way. I never was on any medications as a kid. I don't know that my symptoms were even taken seriously enough by adults in my life.
Well, it's kind of like that generation. It's like, oh, suck it up, buttercup. Yeah, you're fine.
Exactly. They're lashing out. They're just a problem child. They have anger issues. They have aggression. So I was in anger management when I was younger. Right. Like those types of things. And looking back, like I don't think I even needed to be in anger management.
Right. And what was the approach? Not to interrupt you, but what was the approach at those anger managements? Like, how did they think to say, like, what's home life like? Like, what is?
Oh
like,
no,
do you
never.
Feel safe? Like, so who's teaching these classes? I'm just intrigued.
It was wild. I just remember. I mean, I was young. I think I started when I was like 12, in those types of therapy sessions.
So those are hormones also.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a lot going on. Like we had my dad suffered from alcoholism and addiction to narcotics. And so my parents were like splitting up during that time. And I was well aware of everything going on. We moved states, like all this kind of stuff. But it's interesting because when I went into therapy, I just remember thinking, I'm going to manipulate this therapist to not like themselves either. That's what I thought about in anger management. No part of me never was angry. If anything, I just redirected my anger at the therapist.
Right.
I never felt safe with that adult. That adult was always like, okay, well, why did you do this bad thing? You know that's bad. I'm like, well, duh, I know it's fucking bad. Like,
Yeah,
what?
who the fuck are you to judge?
Yeah.
Like, maybe get to the root of it.
I remember they wanted me to make a collage one day, and I was like, they wanted me to cut out things out of a magazine to just like put my feelings down. I cut out the words like kill and death and all this stuff just to piss them off. Like, I was the most like, I never like went out and tried to start fights. Like, was not that type of like anger. It was like,
but you're just
yelling.
But
I was like,
I think that's hilarious.
This is a 12-year-old girl. So I look back, I'm like, no wonder I loved deadlifting by the age of 13.
Right.
Like, so it's crazy what we do. And you and I talked about this before we even started, about just with like teenagers and stuff and how like there's no coping skills anymore.
Right.
That taught me coping skills.
Right.
Like, there was no social media. There was nothing for me to Google. There was no, like, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
So
God, I kind of love that we didn't have that when we were that
We're
age.
saved because of that.
We're saved because of that, yeah.
And so it's so crazy to think that like that actually made me a stronger, better, more formed person. And I'm able to see when someone's really looking out for me or when someone doesn't have my back and they're just checking a box.
Right.
And so, it taught me to go look and solve my problems and be like, wait, I want to feel better. So I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to research as much as I can on nutrition. I'm going to go to the library and look at books.
Right.
And learn those types of things. And so it taught me to navigate life. And so I'm so happy that it did happen.
Right.
But I couldn't imagine, well, I can't imagine. I have a kid and I hang out with kids all the time, like with training. Like, I feel so bad for them because what you and I learned how to do, which makes us successful today, doesn't exist anymore.
I know, it's a little scary. I mean, we have 3 teenagers, and
Blah.
you and I have Reese is 3.5, Birdie's almost 5. It's a really scary world that we live in for them. So I would really love to hear your observations, not judgments, obviously, but observations of like the teenagers that are coming in. Yeah. How are you seeing their ability to adapt, their ability to take constructive feedback, their ability to, my daughter plays lacrosse and she had some feedback from some things her coaches said. And I was like, well, it sounds to me like they want you guys to put in a little more effort. Yep. Yeah. It doesn't and are you taking it personally because you weren't putting in the effort? Yeah. Like this isn't like if she grew up with any of my coaches. Oh, yeah. God.
We'd be screamed at. Are you kidding?
Oh, God.
We'd be like belittled, screamed at,
right.
Like no water for you.
Not that Russian gymnast coaches were at all sugarcoating. No, I will tell you that. But
yeah, it's interesting because what I've noticed though, and I will say, and like in your daughter, as I can already see it as she goes through high school, is going to be a little powerhouse in her own. She's just in her freshman stage.
Oh,
and I think she likes
vulnerable.
it. I think I think she likes being like the vulnerable. Like, I'm new here. But I'm just a freshman. I'm like, it's her and Maddie. We're just freshmen. I'm like, okay.
I love them.
What I've noticed is that there is a major, major difference in teenage kids that I've worked with because I've worked with teams, but I've also worked with kids who are not on any sort of teams. And
like with Scorch community.
Like Scorch, what we did with working with Girls Inc. and Boys and Girls Club and that kind of stuff. And what I found is that no matter what, across the board, kids have more anxiety now than ever before. They're
overstimulated all the time.
Yes. They're comparing themselves to things that don't exist.
Yeah.
And
their social media stuff that's not real.
Yeah. They're creating stories in their heads about what's going on that's not happening.
Right. Which is hard enough when we were kids because everyone does that at that age.
Yep.
But now it's like all in front of them and it's just such like a 10-second attention span to everything. Yeah. Which freaks me out.
Yeah. It's just traumatizing. So the youth, the teens that I've worked with that play sports have such better coping mechanisms and grit and tenacity than the ones who are not. Mm-hmm. Because at least they're getting out and they can't have their phone when they're out playing lacrosse. They're going to get hit in the head with something. Yeah. Like it's just how it works.
Thank God they wear helmets. I was excited
they're
about
being
that.
forced to push through when things are uncomfortable.
Right.
The rest of the world that isn't playing sports, what are they doing to get out of their comfort zones? And I think that getting out of the comfort zone is what decreases that anxiety, which teaches the grit, the tenacity, the problem solving that we had to do. And so that's where it's like the girls who are in the sports, yeah, in the beginning, they might be a little timid and stuff.
Right.
But after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like.
It's such a confidence booster.
Yeah.
It's like someone, like I was telling when she was trying out for lacrosse. And she thought she had to run the 5K. Well, she didn't really have to run the 5K, by the way. But I love that we trained for it anyway. She's fast as shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, mommy can't sprint anymore. My little hips don't go that way. But I was like, oh my God, you are so capable. Yeah. I just don't like it. Like, you're going to have to get over that home slice. Yeah. Like, find something pretty
and
to run towards. Yeah. Like, find a cloud and run towards it.
But
she gets so much better when you're not looking at the ground.
She did it.
She did it.
Yeah, she has grit. She has tenacity. Right. She has the ability to be uncomfortable. And that's what life is. Life is literally, and that's why that's why we have to talk about the deadlift effect.
Yes. Oh yeah, we're getting to that. Yeah. I love it.
But that's why, like, you have to do hard things because then the rest of life just gets easier.
That's the only reason I'm alive. Yeah. Like, for multiple reasons. But because, like you, like, I grew up I knew physically I needed to move my body, and I realized I could shape my body and transform my body. Like, and it felt good. Like, I felt like my energy level changed, my brain chemistry changed. Like, it just got me through so much of life, and still does. Yeah. I think that was part of my problem this past weekend. I got home from a big trip. You know, everyone came home. Everyone kind of had the stuffies. I was like, oh, I'll just have a rest weekend. I'm like, all right, I rested enough. I'm going to go fucking batshit crazy on someone. I'm like, I'm going to lose it.
That's when we rage.
Rest. I'm taking a walk.
This is why we overtrain so easily. Rest equals rage.
Right. Well, and so it's finding that balance. And like I've had my 3 days of normalcy this week. And it's like, wow, I really just missed my routine. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to that consistency we were talking about. It's like finding something that works for you and not just hopping around and doing all the things. Yeah. Because, you know, I think my entire life I've had to work on impulse control. But the one thing I'm consistent with is exercise. Yeah. Period.
Thank God.
Not my water drinking, not even my eating all the time.
I'm so bad at drinking water.
We do have water, but we're going to have to hide the label if we drink it.
If I continue to lose my voice, I have to hide the labels.
Right. I'm really good at drinking water, apparently, when I travel. I drank so much water on my trip to Arizona because I felt like for some reason I was going to die. I was in the desert. But I'm like, I need to drink this much water at home.
I think it's a travel thing because I'm so good at drinking because it's my routine. I'm like, okay, we're getting on the plane. We need to all make sure that we have our bottles of water. We need to
Yes, but during the week, I'm like, where's that? Oh, I haven't water in 4 hours.
That's because we are overstimulated, but we choose to be overstimulated.
That's true. That's true. So the deadlift effect.
The deadlift effect.
Let's talk about the deadlift effect.
All right. So the premise of the deadlift effect is that by becoming physically stronger, you can become stronger in all other areas of your life. And so I say it like it's like a deadlift. A deadlift is literally picking up dead weight off the ground. So, and it's something that I know works because I've seen it work over the last 20 years that I've been doing this. And I feel like a lot of self-help books and podcasts and programs and courses, and they give you all these 9,000 things that you have to do to be happy and level up your life. So I always like to break it down to the one thing that you can do today. And the one thing that you can do today is go lift some weights, like get physically stronger. Mm-hmm. You will be so surprised at how all of a sudden you're making stronger decisions for yourself. You are stronger in your finances, in your relationships. You get to know yourself better. It's like life gets easier when you get physically stronger.
Right.
So
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're both products of that.
Yeah.
And I've had to do it in multiple realms. And so I think this is something actually, now that we're talking about this, so it's something that I feel like I identified with a certain type of strength for so long. Yeah. From being an athlete, from being a fitness instructor, from having these like high intensity workouts all the time, teaching high intensity all the time. I had to like let go of the identification of that, working through my new 40-year-old hormones and this new stage of life with, 4 kids and a business and another business and a husband that has a big business, and all the other things. Like my clock is already ticking fast before I even get out of bed. So if I get out of bed and go into a high intensity workout and I'm not training appropriately and I'm not fueling myself appropriately, my body's not going to know the difference if I'm running from a tiger or if I'm trying to do something healthy.
Exactly.
And that's one of the biggest things that I like to stress. Like, so I've really had to like shed layers I'm going to walk to Pilates.
Yeah.
And sometimes I make it a 7-mile walk, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not and sometimes I add some sprint intervals and it's a 3-mile walk.
Yep.
But I know my body. And so what I've tried to shape now is like waking up, like, how am I going to move myself today?
Yep.
And it's not punishment. It's because I want to do what makes me feel good in this era, not because I have to, not because I feel like I should be doing it. It's because that genuinely is what makes me feel good.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. And for instance, like Pilates, that's resistance training. That's getting stronger.
Yeah.
And you're now, because of how strong you were you're still able to make those decisions for yourself because there's no ego involved in it.
Right.
The ego in the fitness industry is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
I can't.
It is wild. Wild.
I mean, well, it's the one thing you're taught. It's all about the way you look.
Yeah.
And it's like the one thing that F's with us more than anything. And it's not about that at all.
No.
That's where everyone's like, oh, you have the perfect body for a fitness competition or a figure comp. Yeah. I'm not doing that. No offense to all of you who work really hard to do it. I am not standing on stage in bikini so someone can judge me. Yeah. I do that enough myself.
And that's a sport in itself.
It is.
For that individual person. So it's like 100%.
Like, I just know it would never work for me because of things I've had to overcome in my life.
And that's where like the ego comes in where it's, if you love to do something, you don't have to justify it to the next person if you truly love it.
Right.
So,
and I actually coached figure and fitness competitors,
and
I loved it. And I was so excited for them, and I would go to their stuff, and I loved it for them. Yeah. I could personally never do it. And it was funny because I actually trained for one when I first moved down here, and sick shape, did all the boiled eggs and broccoli and disgusting plain chicken, and it was terrible. And I got pneumonia like 3 weeks before, and I'm like, okay, it's not meant for me.
Yeah, well, it's because
it's not meant for me.
Because you're immune
because I'm and also and I was also an extremist. I knew if I got down to this like way I was supposed to look with the history of eating disorder and things that I went through as a kid, it wasn't meant for me.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing in the fitness industry that I've noticed because I've trained literally tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And unfortunately, because of my OCD, I remember everything. So one of the things that I found is that I've had to train disordered eating out of the majority of my female clients.
100%.
And it's so sad to me that our industry that's supposed to make us super healthy and super happy literally does the exact opposite.
Right.
It gives us eating disorders so there's difference between eating disorders and disordered eating. So eating disorders is your anorexia, your bulimia, diagnosable eating disorders. Disordered eating is we become infatuated and hyper-focused on certain foods that we're eating.
Right.
And so that's where it's like, well, a meal sits down and like you're trying to count your calories in your head and that's all that you're thinking about. Or you're thinking about the event that you have to go to and, oh my God, what am I going to eat? Those types of situations. All of a sudden now you're not living your life and enjoying your life. You're focusing on like food, this thing that's units of energy.
Right. It's just like the gas for your car.
Yeah. It's literally, it's like
the gas for your body.
The definition of a calorie is literally the amount of energy it takes to increase 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius.
Yeah.
That's literally it. So all that means is that every time you actually put food in your body and you eat these calories, it's actually heating your body up and increasing your metabolism.
Right.
It's energy.
Right.
It's like a fire.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit because I think I have a lot of people that, they listen to this for various reasons. And I always love to get I know how, if you can't tell by now, Liz is the ultimate fitness nerd with everything scientific, and I love her.
I went to school for a lot of this.
She did, yes, but I always love and value your perspective. So as far as like macros, and because it's not a one size fits all. Like I was talking to my mom and sister about this. My mom's about the same height, same weight. And I was like, okay, for you, but our activity level is different.
Yes.
So I kind of helped her tailor her stuff towards, so let's talk about that a little bit and kind of get your perspective on the importance of what macros to take in when and why.
Yes. So let's just start with the basics, what macronutrients are. So we have carbohydrates, we have fats, and we have protein. Now, those 3 carbohydrates, they two of them do something similar, and then one of them does something completely different. So protein, we're going to start with that. My favorite macronutrient.
Same.
Actually, I feel like carbs might be my favorite. I don't know. But protein helps build our muscle. So it is full of something called amino acids. Amino acids create these chains, and our body uses those individual amino acids for different repair things throughout our body. So this is where we're going to be able to repair that muscle tissue that we broke down, but it's also going to help things like your heart and your lungs and that kind of stuff. So we're always repairing because our body's always constantly breaking down because we have stress, cortisol in our lives.
Right.
Cortisol is a hormone. It's the stress hormone. It ebbs and flows throughout the day, no matter what. Okay. Right. We need it. It's actually a healthy thing to have in your body. Right. Like you stopped producing it. That's bad. We don't want that.
It's back. It's back now.
It's back now.
I had to work for that.
So proteins help rebuild. Then we have carbohydrates and fats. These are our two energy sources for the body. So we need them because the body needs energy to do things like beat your heart or take a breath or digest something, or your internal organs use calories and they use energy. So carbohydrates are, I don't care what the keto people say, carbohydrates are the number one source of energy for the brain. Okay?
Healthy carbohydrates.
Healthy carbohydrates. I'm
cupcakes.
talking sweet potatoes.
Yes.
A cupcake technically is a carb and a fat combined. So we can't even put cupcakes in a carbs. So if you're looking at carbs, you're looking at your potatoes, your squashes, your rice, vegetables, fruits, those types of things. So we need our carbohydrates, and then we have our fats.
Right. Fats
are also great for heart health, brain health. Now, the basics of macros, protein is 4 calories per gram. Carbs are 4 calories per gram. Fats are 9 calories per gram. So this is where the macro world starts to get a little tricky, and why people might think that they're sticking to certain macros and they're eating low carb, but they're still gaining weight. So when you go low carb, great, cool. But you have to make sure that you're not overeating your fats the entire time.
Right.
Yep. So what I prefer to do, instead of telling people to count macros, is I like them to do portion sizing with their hands.
Yep.
Okay. So,
I love it.
Yep. So at every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack, you need a fist size amount of protein. My fist and your fist are 2 different sizes.
Yep.
Okay. A large 300-pound man is going to have a much larger fist than me. They need more protein. Then breakfast, you get to have your carbohydrates. Why do we do them at breakfast? Cortisol levels surge 30 minutes after 30 minutes of waking up, okay? The only thing that actually decreases cortisol levels in the body is the introduction of carbohydrates in the bloodstream. When we have high stress, we crave sugar.
Right.
Okay, that's a defense mechanism.
Then when we eat sugar, we crave more sugar.
We crave more sugar. What we need to be doing is having that sugar with our protein.
Right.
And when I'm talking sugar, I am talking about potatoes, oatmeal, whole grain toast, those types of things. So
berries and yogurt.
Yep. So the biggest thing is protein and carbohydrates with your breakfast. Then your carbs are only going to come, again, if you're exercising, and they're going to come before and after your workout. Other than that, you're having protein in every meal, you're having your healthy fats, and you are loading up on veggies.
Yep.
Like loading up, like 2 palmfuls of veggies at your lunch and at your dinner. So if you were not counting macros, but wanting a structure, again, it's a fist size amount of protein, a palm size amount of carbohydrates at breakfast. Then if you're exercising, it's another palm size amount of carbohydrates before your workout, and another one after your workout, and a fist size amount of protein. And then lunch is going to be a fist size amount of protein and 2 handfuls of veggies and a thumb amount of fats. This could be cheese. This could be nuts. Avocado. This could be avocados. This could be olive oil, all the good stuff. And then the same goes for dinner. Dinner and lunch are going to look exactly the same. Fist size amount of protein, tons of veggies, and then your thumb of fat. Okay.
When people don't realize too that even like super lean ground beefs and things like, I mean, they already have the fats, and that's why we say a thumb amount of fat. You don't want to have a whole avocado in a burger.
Yeah, because the amount of fats,
your fats.
Yeah, and some people. So if you if your doctor tells you that if you have epilepsy and your doctor tells you need to load up on fats and do keto, it's a completely different situation.
Right. 100%.
And that's where people fall into these diets, intermittent fasting, the keto diet, the paleo diet, all these different things. Is they were created, well, not the paleo diet necessarily, but other diets were created based on these diseases and these like syndromes that people were having. They weren't created for the mainstream population to follow while having a job, while having kids, while trying to exercise. It's for very sick people.
Teaching 20 classes a week like I used to and participating in every class.
Yeah. It's for sick people who are bedridden.
Right.
And we really need to kill off as many cells as possible in their body.
Right.
So that we can then
restructure.
Yeah.
So what is your perspective on intermittent fasting? Because I know that's kind of one of those mainstream topics, and just curious.
So I'm a fan of intermittent fasting if you're moving your dinner to earlier but not skipping breakfast.
Yep.
So the original studies on intermittent fasting were done on mice and rats. Mm-hmm. When they did them on humans, it didn't work.
Right.
And that was actually in the last 2 years that they found that. Oh. So intermittent fasting was shown to not necessarily be the best, especially for women.
Right.
So because
our hormones, it depends on what time you are in your cycle, what week in your cycle. When I started cycle syncing and learning about that, like the 2 weeks, like your luteal phase, and you're not supposed to fast. Yeah. You're supposed to actually eat like you're pregnant, like an extra 100 to 300 calories a day, because that's what your body needs to get ready for the menstruation cycle. Yeah. But we're not taught that either. I had to do lots of research.
We are taught to do a lot of things like we are men with high testosterone levels.
Yeah.
Because testosterone is a super cool hormone that makes it so that like they can handle stress better, they can put on muscle better, they can recover better. It's an anabolic hormone. It helps your body grow.
Right. So when they have a 24-hour cycle, we have a 28 to 35 day cycle depending on the woman.
Ridiculous. So it's
a whole other topic.
When it comes to if you're a woman and you're listening to this, you will see a noticeable difference in your energy levels, in your body weight, in everything if you start adding in breakfast and actually syncing your meals rather than fasting with what people tell you to, fasting with your circadian rhythm. Right. So when the sun rises, you eat. When the sun goes down, you stop. So that's
what I do. Yeah. And I've just kind of had to just go with the flow with that because I've tried all the other things. Yeah. And I find that I'm starving in the morning. Yeah.
But that's good.
Yes.
That means your metabolism. That means you're waking up in fat burn. That means your body is burnt through everything throughout the night.
And I have a couple bites of overnight oats with some protein in it. And it's delicious. Do you ever use Leo's Clean Kitchen? Do you ever order from them? They're fantastic.
Are they? I'll have to look at them.
Yeah, they're really great. So they have these like coffee energy balls that are fantastic. And they put their macros with everything, which I just like to know that I'm getting enough protein. So my thing is now I try not to count. I just need to know that like for me, that fist is about 20 to 30 grams of protein.
It is. Yep.
So for me, I know that that's kind of what I need to get every meal.
100%. Yeah. And if you're going to track something, if you're someone who can track without becoming obsessive, then so be it. Track.
Right. It's that consistency.
Yeah, it's the consistency in it. And it's also not becoming so obsessed that you're not living your life.
Right.
Because unless you are a paid fitness model, what's the point? Right. Like it's but seriously, it's like people, you get it, but it's, if you really think about it, like I want to look different. It might not even be better. I'd want people think that they'll look better at losing weight. Some people look like shit when they lose weight.
Old. Like I feel like when I got like really thin, my face started to look really old.
Dude, I have been like super lean. People are like, "Are you sick?"
Right.
Someone asked me if I had cancer one time. I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I hope I don't. Should I go check?"
That's me when I don't draw my eyebrows on.
But like you can. It literally comes down to it's malnourishment.
Right.
So that's where it's like, if you're going to become so obsessed with it, don't do it. Don't track it. You don't need to lose 2% more body fat unless you are training for something very specific and you have a very specific goal. And it's a goal that's bringing you money, bringing you happiness, bringing you something. Like just make sure that whatever it is that you're training for, because you're getting rid of all these like things that you used to make sure it's for a reason.
Right. Well, and it's fulfilling too, because what do? We go in the rat race of life and we're chasing, and and adults are just as guilty of the comparison and the I want to look like this and falling into the trap of the like believing all of these false senses of self that's out there that are real. And which kind of brings me to the next topic, which is a pretty hot faux pas topic right now, but I want your opinion on it because you're very educated and I want to educate others on these shots everyone are getting.
Glucagon-like peptides.
Intrigued because
as I choke on my water or my
I don't know. I feel like messing with insulin levels are like a really great way to F up your system for life. What is this doing
it's
to
actually
everyone?
So it's affecting your glucagon levels is what it is. So your body secretes insulin, and it also secretes glucagon. So when we eat carbohydrates, our body secretes insulin, and insulin tells those carbs, go into the cell and give them energy.
Right.
Like it just takes those sugars and shoves them into the cell. When our body insulin levels drop too low, that's when we get like crave sugar and all that kind of stuff. But what ends up happening is if we don't give it, our body then secretes glucagon, and glucagon raises insulin levels back up. So now all of a sudden we're not craving things anymore.
Okay.
So that's what the shots are actually doing. They're literally making it so that the body has synthetic glucagon, and it's making it so that your body doesn't necessarily need to get to secrete insulin because of food coming in. So now all of a sudden you're not eating, you're not craving. So you're not having the signal anymore.
So you're just not
to
eating,
have sugar.
And that's why everyone's losing weight, because they're not
because their blood sugar levels aren't dropping.
So what happens when
someone
drinks alcohol when they're taking this, or they go back to like this, or they stop taking it?
We
like
really
what happens?
don't know yet.
We're gonna find out, you guys. It freaks me out.
Yeah. So there's studies that, well, no matter what happens, if you're not getting in calories, you're going to lose muscle mass. When you lose muscle mass, it decreases your resting metabolic rate, or the amount of calories that your body can burn at rest. In the diabetic population, this could be something that could be beneficial because their regulation of insulin doesn't exist anyways. So you're already taking insulin shots, all that kind of stuff.
It's even legal for people to take it.
It's been around since like the 80s, I think, is when the original studies were done on it. They just found a way to make money off of it, and it's not really hurting people. That being said,
not yet.
I guess there are some newer studies that show that microdosing it could actually be healthy but microdosing is completely different than what's actually happening. I know some people who have gone on it and have had such major side effects like vomiting, nausea, like inability to function because they're so sick that they didn't even run the course of it. So there are pretty big side effects of it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I know anyone who had like a true success story from it. I'm going to sit here and be silent for a second because I really can't.
I don't know. I mean, I think I have people that I ponder and wonder if that's what the transformation's all about, but it's really none of my business. And I just worry, like for our generation, like the Botox and fillers and stuff long term. Like, what the hell is that going to do? Well, like, are we not going to be able to move our face in 30 years?
And everybody, again, like our bodies are all different. Everyone's going to handle things differently, but it could dysregulate hormone production.
Right. So I don't know. I think it all just freaks me out. Maybe I'm just in my crunchy girl era. And I think I very much am.
I think this is just like when it comes to like doing the keto diet. Like if you have like constant seizures, then maybe the keto diet is for you. Right. If you have severe type 2 diabetes and you are unable to exercise because you are at such a high risk of a heart attack, maybe GLP-1s and Ozempic type things are for you. Okay. But for the mainstream person that just needs to find consistency and create healthy habits, like you're not fixing the problem. This is just another Band-Aid. We are the society of Band-Aids. And believe me, I love a good fucking Band-Aid on shit too sometimes.
Like, I know, sometimes. Yeah. I feel like I'm in my Band-Aid rip-off stage.
You are, like, totally.
I am very much in my rip the Band-Aid stage.
In the years that I've known you, you're in the like, okay, well, we're just going to just,
like, we're going all in.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've tried everything. Well, I've never tried the shot things. Yeah. But I've tried it all. I mean, I'm going to try everything once kind of girl. I don't know. Some of this stuff I think I'm maybe just at the stage where it all just kind of freaks me out. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what?
It should freak you out.
Call me old. My forehead wrinkles will be fine. Yeah. Like I don't know what it's going to do to me in the long run. I feel like I know where it comes from. The tanning beds when I was in high school and the melanoma I had when I was 27. Right? Like all the stupid shit I did. Like
my pre-melanoma scar.
Right. Like all of the stuff I did, I'm starting to see the effects of that later on. And I'm like, I kind of am glad I had melanoma when I was 27 because I feel like it saved my face. Yeah. Like for the past 15 years. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess my message out there to you guys, just do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research and find something that's consistent, and accountability partners, and like just know that there's options. Ask the questions. I wanted to get your perspective on that, because it's just so mainstream right now that it's just been thrown out there like, okay.
Yep. Yeah. And but it's just like, remember when HCG was big for weight loss? Oh, 100%. Like, and everyone and their mom was trying it.
Yeah. And what was the other one when I was in college? Xenoplex?
Oh, like, was it like the ephedrine?
Ephedrine? Yeah. And so, like, how did we not have heart attacks?
We did have heart attacks. That's why the FDA pulled it.
We did have heart attacks. That's why it's
the FDA literally said no more. It's gone.
I remember having this like drink called Red Line in the gym.
Oh my God, I remember those.
I like had one before, like a group exercise fitness center. I was like,
my first panic attacks came from that shit when we were in college.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. I don't know how I survived.
I had the Jacked 3D pre-workout. This is after I finished running track in college, and I was like, I'm going to be a weightlifter. I'm going to take these pre-workouts that had 1,3-dimethylalamine in it, or geranium root. It's also banned now. I just remember being like, this is what it feels to be superhuman. And then all of a sudden, my arms would swell up and get tingly, and I'd have a panic attack and like freak out. And like,
or your lips would like go numb and your face start
like you get
throbbing.
Like a severe niacin flush, but then it was like jacked up at the same time. Yeah, it was a lot. We don't need that anymore.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. See, all the fitness gurus, we try all the things.
We do.
But this is how we learn to educate everyone else.
But that's the way the industry goes. Like, okay, this made us a bunch of money. FDA pulls it. Okay, moving on to the next one. This made a bunch of money. FDA advised against it. Like, we know, like, people say the FDA sucks. Like, they suck because they don't look into every single thing. But eventually they do. And when they do, and it's bad for you, they'll pull it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So at least when it comes to sports supplements. And so we went through the phases of ephedras that did work, but people died. Then we went through the HCG phase where it worked, but people were only eating 500 calories and dysregulated their metabolisms. Now we're in a whole nother. Now we're in injectable peptides. We're in peptide land. And now we're putting synthetic peptides into our bodies. And guess what? It's going to work, but what's the catalyst for the next one?
Right. And what happens, and this is with synthetic anything, when you're putting something synthetic in your body will naturally stop producing that. Yeah. So what's going to happen is, if you're doing something synthetic, you stop doing it, you realize you want to change your life, then you're like up shit's creek without a paddle, and you're not going to produce it anymore.
Yeah. So then you're literally having to figure out, like, your meal timing's got to be on point. You're probably wearing a blood glucose monitor to see if your body is like stimulating insulin or not. Yeah. What
was that thing we blew? The Lumen.
Yeah.
That thing was pretty cool.
I think it's still cool.
Yeah. Do you still use yours?
I don't use mine just because I don't track anything anymore.
Right. Yeah, same.
Like, we just chase kids around and all that kind of stuff. No, but Lumen was, okay. When you consume carbohydrates and you breathe, you you actually push out more CO2. Right. Okay. So, and then when your body's in fat burn and burning fats, you have a lower amount of CO2 coming off of your breath. So what Lumen is that it's a device that actually reads your CO2 levels in your breath and tells you if you're in carb or fat burn. And it looks like a vape.
So I had it in my purse, and and Tatum's like, Mom. Yep. I'm like, no, this is, that's why I had to explain the whole thing and show her the app, because I felt like I like I was a teenager and got caught.
Yeah. And the way that I used it is that I literally used it for exercise to see if I needed to eat more carbohydrates before my workout.
Right. That's what I used it for.
Yeah, you want to be in a carb burn before your workout, because if you don't have enough carbohydrates for energy before a high intensity workout or a weightlifting workout, then you're not going to get the full benefit of that workout. The workout should not be about burning calories. The workout should be about breaking down muscle tissue, rebuilding muscle tissue, and increasing this resting metabolic rate. All of exercise should be about increasing your overall base metabolism.
Right.
Not, I burned 500 calories in this workout today.
Right.
Like, all you're going to do is get really hungry and re-eat those 500 calories again. Mm-hmm. We want to create a faster, more efficient metabolism over time. And that's how you get lean and stay lean forever. And then you mess up your hormones and you have to do all that stuff. But
yeah, in the trickling stages of all of this.
Yeah.
So all of this knowledge, all of the things we've talked about, let's talk about a little bit about Scorch Community, which is on pause right now. But you've taken something, which is your passion, your love for fitness, what you went through as an adolescent, and really created a beautiful program, and let's talk about that a little bit more and what is involved in that, because it's actually both of our little power passion.
We love helping girls and boys who like had similar upbringings to us or far, far worse than we could ever imagine. So Scorch Community was our way, both of our way, of teaching that deadlift effect and teaching that whole, by becoming physically stronger, all other areas of your life can become stronger, but teaching it to the teenage youth. And so we have so many programs that are for elementary school, even middle school, but when they get to high school, kids are just off on their own. It's like
that's when I needed it. Most.
And that's when we kind of just like let them go. And that's when we really should be like bringing them in the most. So the program that we created basically taught these young men and women how to not only weightlift, but to like take control of their lives. So they would come in 2 times a week for 2 hours. We would do full workouts. We would do goal setting journals. We would do diffusion of situations. And we had them track how they felt walking into the gym and how they felt leaving the gym every single session, and the problems that they were having when they walked in and how they thought differently about those problems after they left. And so we had these cute little journals. But in every single time, by the end of these sessions, these kids all of a sudden were like, you know what? That doesn't bother me as much anymore. Right. Or, you know what? I'm going to handle that a little bit differently. Right. Or, and I mean, we had stories like, oh yeah, I got so angry this weekend. I pulled someone out of a car, like through the window because she was messing with my man. And I'm like, where were you? She's like, church. And I'm like, what? And so those are the things, like we talked through those types of things, like those types of escalations that they were going through. And like, these were girls who like lived in foster homes and had 7 kids sleeping in one room. It's like, that's here in Sarasota. That's everywhere in Sarasota. And we don't even acknowledge it. So giving these kids this ability. And so one of them actually called me the other day and said, thank you for, to both of us, I'm going to cry, said, thank you for changing my life. So you know who she is. Yeah. And she's like, everything you taught me, I'm using today. And it's like, it's impacted my life in such a way. And so, and that's the point of that is that my life changed because of exercise and because of having coaches who cared about me enough to teach me. And so that's kind of what Scorch Community is all about, is like, I do care enough. You do care enough. Right. We will take the time and the effort to put into people that we don't know, and people's kids, we don't know them. Right. But we'll put effort into your children for you. Right. Like, we got you.
Because we get it too. Like, we're also moms. Like, we don't have that energy. We need people to help put the effort into our own kids.
I was pregnant teaching these girls how to deadlift. I'm like, we got this. They're like, Miss Liz, are you okay? I'm like, no.
Yes, we have to bring that back. We have to totally off podcast.
I've filed the taxes for it every year.
I still have the checkbook.
We're fine.
We'll get back. This is what happens. I mean, you have kids, you have a life, things, but to take it back up in a different way, and it added that. And one thing that I really love and value is it added the processing component to it. Because we, even as adults, go into the gym. We know we need to do something with our body, but do we take the time to really process how did we feel when we went in?
We don't.
What was bothering us?
We don't.
Or like, are we dreading going home? Like, are we processing why? Or, so it really teaches them those coping skills that we all still need. I mean, let's just face it. We're living in an overstimulated society. There's no way around it. And we have to create that time for ourselves.
100%. The processing thing is so big. That's what, it's funny because I think I gave you a copy of it a couple of years ago, but I have the energy journal at Scorch where it's like I have people track their food and then how they feel 30 to 45 minutes afterwards.
Okay.
And it's a whole day long thing. And it's like this thick ass book because I write too many words.
Yes, you did give me that.
Yep. I'm such a wordy person. It's terrible. But just even in the short term, realizing that your emotions cause cravings. Your food quality affects how you handle things. Like just realizing that every single thing that we do, unfortunately, affects how we function.
Right.
And so that's that processing component that we forget because life is so fast paced that we think that like, okay, as long as I get my to-do list and check it all off, I'm going to feel good at the end of the day. And really we feel run down. We feel less close to our goals. We all of a sudden are questioning whether we like our spouses or not. And it's not their fault most of the time. No. So it's crazy. We get the flu.
Yeah.
Like,
and that happens regardless. But
yeah.
So
first time. I haven't had the flu in, I don't know, 10 years is what happens when you have a kid in daycare.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. So I don't have the flu now. I didn't give Crystal the flu.
No.
This was last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like you put it perfectly. We don't process anything anymore.
And I think that's just like, and figure out our why behind it. Like what's the intention behind it? And I think that one thing that like kind of pops out at me about everything we've talked about is I've always loved you because you're a very intentional person. Like regardless of what you're doing it with intention. Yeah. And surrounding yourself with people that are like that. And I think that, like I said before, like I didn't really see a lot of that growing up. Yeah. It was like people just went through the motions. They did what they had to do. They worked through things. They didn't take time to process. They had off the wall coping skills or not at all. So I had to figure this out on my own. Yeah. So it's like
which gave you lots of grit and tenacity.
It did. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Yeah. But if we can hijack some of these, especially like the young kids, and I mean it's never do, or the 80-year-olds, into understanding the importance of having intention behind everything that you're doing for your body, whether it's eating or movement or sleep, which we didn't even touch on sleep, which is a whole other, I know you're my napping friend. Yeah. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, it really does.
So if people want to find you, where
they
can find
go
you?
To scorchfitness.com, SCORCH fitness.com.
I'll link it too.
But not with a flame or a glitter flame for you.
I like the glitter flame.
Or what's my personal website?
LizLowe.com.
The Liz Lowe, because Liz Lowe was taken by a woman in Japan. Not kidding. I was like,
it's not like an ego thee. It's
a
default.
It's a default thee.
Which I think is funny because if anyone knows you, you're like the most non-egoic person.
Never mind.
So it's funny I always makes me smile when it pops up.
It's funny because like my friends from my college and stuff, they like make fun of me because they know me and they're just like,
well, that's why it's cute.
Like, really? And I'm like, some woman in Japan has that Instagram handle and that website. I don't know what to do.
Some cleaning company has Crystal Clear, so I can't
It's
copyright
hilarious. Dude, yeah. So the Liz Lowe on Instagram or website, and then if you do want to see any of the Scorch programs that we have online, my personal website has a link to all of them as well. And then scorchfitness.com. But yeah, if anyone wants to come in, we have coffee, we have tea, and hang out in the lobby.
Yes, it's fun. The trainers are awesome. They're all very intentional. The workouts are great. Yeah. And thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like we could have talked for like 4 hours, but
because we can.
But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right.